Oh, you knocked that off. That was good recording. You didn't have that recorded? All right. That was good Musa. At least good Musa conversation. Okay. 4 lines up from the bottom. So again, we're talking about the sugya of what is meant to be, what mitzvahs are part of that be done only in Eretz Yisrael, and what mitzvahs are done in the Chutz La'aretz. Bobby's not here, right? She's at the party. Okay, so so now it's both based on whether it says in the pasuk Moshav and Bia coming into Eretz Yisrael and dwelling. So the Gemara says Bishlam Laman Damar, 4 lines up at the bottom, Lamed Zayin Amud Beis. So Bishlam Laman Damar Moshav. It says when it says the word Moshav, like Mosh Vayseichem Kol Makom Sha'atam Yoshvim Mashma. So that's mashma any place that you are found, any place that you didn't live, you have to keep the mitzvah. Zayin Duchsev Yochlu Me'avar Haaretz Mimacharas Pesach. Right, that they ate. Oh, Reb Doiv is on. Good. We got a lot of chumash in tonight's the first part of the daf. A lot of chumash. Yeah. So vayochlu me'avar haaretz mimachras haPesach. It says, and they ate from not me'avor haaretz, the day after Pesach. Right. So meaning the Yidden that came into Eretz Yisrael the day after Pesach, they ate the new grain. Right, like we said yesterday. Well, it's what we call yashan. Right, after they brought the carbon omer, or when the carbon omer was supposed to be brought, then they ate. That's when all grains became mutter. Right? So Gemara says, they ate it the day after Pesach, but they did not eat it before, which means l'chayra that they were keeping the mitzvah of Chadash Yashan. Right? Alma on Tamid Aleph now. Alma Akruv Aimer v'Hadar Achel. They brought the carbon Aimer, and then they ate all the new grain because they kept the mitzvah of Chadash and Yashan. Right? That means, again, we said, should have pointed this out before. We said that the first 14, that the machlaikis over whether these mitzvahs apply in Eretz Yisrael or in Chutz La'aretz is dependent on whether you learn that they kept these mitzvahs for the first 14 years until the land was settled, right? So here it's clear that it has to be that they kept the mitzvahs the first 14 years because they didn't eat the old grain until they brought the carbon omer, right? So but according to Manda Amar, who says that they didn't start keeping the mitzvahs until they were in Eretz Yisrael for 14 years, why didn't they eat their grain right away? Meaning they didn't have to keep the mitzvahs for 14 more years. So why were they not eating the new grain? Again, right? We learned that there's a din of Yashan and Chadash, which is all grain can't be eaten. Any grain that was grown after Pesach cannot be eaten until the next Pesach, when they bring the carbon omer on first day Pesach. Right? So, but you see, according to this pasuk, that they kept it right away. They didn't eat all their new grain until they brought the carbon omer. So that means they were keeping it within the first 14 years. Right? So that's a kasha on the mandama that says that they weren't. So when I answer, lo yabatzrichi. What?
You keep chadash on grain grown by goyim.
That's part of the shaila. That's part of the shaila. Okay. We have to keep there. Yeah, we'll get to that in a couple of minutes. What are we saying? So
this was when they came in. Obviously, those food was grown by goyim. They weren't in Eretz Yisrael
yet. You say you want to say that that's a raya, that the grain was grown by goyim.
There was no Eden. They came there. They walked into Eretz Yisrael.
I hear. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. That's interesting. Maybe. So anyway, so that's the kasha. So Gemara says lo yabatzrichi. He says a very interesting teretz. They didn't need it, right? They could have eaten it earlier. They didn't need it because they had enough food without the new grain, right? Right? the Bnei Yisrael ate the man for 40 years until they came and they lived in the land. As Haman ochlu ad boim al kutzei Eretz Canaan. The man they ate until they were on the edge of Eretz Canaan. It can't be that it means that they ate the man until they went to live in Eretz Yisrael. It says that they ate it on the edge of Eretz Canaan, meaning right when they came in. And you can't say that it was in the edge of Eretz Canaan until they came to Eretz Neshavas. Okay, Tzad. So what does it mean? The Shiva Ba'adar Meis Moshe, Pasach Mon Mileret. What happened was that on the 7th of Adar, Moshe died. Once Moshe died, the month stopped falling. And they used the month that were in their kalim until the 16th of Nisan. So basically, the Gemara is answering is that you're right. They could have eaten their grain before because they didn't have to keep these mitzvahs for another 14 years. They just didn't eat the grain because they had their mun. And before their mun went and expired, they decided to eat their mun, which lasted for how many days?
So it didn't last more
Zion.
than 1 day.
Oh, so yeah. So what does that mean? Right. So meaning they got. So you have to understand that the mun. I don't know. Reb Dov can weigh in on this, but it means that they got 1 day. Each day they got enough of that day, but they could have frozen it. I guess they could have frozen it.
You're not allowed to save it.
What?
You're not allowed to save it. It's spoiled.
No.
It stopped. That's what you're saying. That stopped falling. Once it stopped
falling, but they had it. It lasted an extra month. It lasted over an extra month.
Meaning the last month that fell
was when Moshe Rabbeinu was nifted. It stopped on Zion Order. And
right, and then it stayed.
That lasted. That went along. That stayed. That lasted. Right. It didn't get didn't turn into worms like previously.
It was in there, right? Right. It lasted 30. What's the numbers? 39 days. 7 to 7. Yeah, it lasted 39 days. The month lasted 39 days until Tezayin. Right? Yeah, so that's basically what the Gemara says. That is a major yeshivish sugya, but it's a
But mun isn't food. You can bring carbon from mun. What are you bringing? What is it? Well, it's not. It's
What do you mean? It's not. Who's bringing a carbon? They didn't bring a carbon from the mun.
What do they want to do with the mun?
They were eating it.
They ate.
Byron, the point is that they stopped eating the mun. That's why they could on the 16th day of Nisan, when they ran out of mun. That's why they could only then. It worked out that they could only eat the new grain from Eretz Yisrael at that time, but they were mutter to eat it even without the Omer being brought. It's happenstance that when they ran out of mun, that's when it fell out on the 16th. That was the Gemara's question.
Okay, thank you.
So now there's a big sugya here, right? So on the first part that they brought the Omer, and then they went and ate, right? So now what did they do for matzah? What did they do for matzah? Pesach, right? What did they do for matzah that Pesach night? Right? Meaning they didn't eat the new grain.
What did they do for matzah during the midbar?
What did they do for matzah?
There was no Pesach.
There was no Pesach. Only Pesach with trying.
There was no matzah. Oh.
All right, so Taisus asks, look at the top Taisus. Yerushalmi Maksha, lama lo achlu matzah mechadash.
But then again, Kaida Matan Torah. Oh, it's not.
Naftali, you're 100% right. But wait, you're 100. Naftali, Taisus is going to say it.
But it's
yeah, but Yerushalmi Maksha, lama lo achlu matzah mechadash. Why didn't they eat the matzah from the new grain? But Yavei essay the be'erev toichlu matzahs. V'yidcha loisa said the chadash. Chadash is a loisa set. You're not allowed to have the new grain until you bring the carbon omer. Okay, but you have a mitzvah deraisa of matzah. So why don't we say essay daicha loisa say? There's big tumble on this Taisus, right? Mataritz, the ein essay the koydem adibur, toicheles is the achar adibur, exactly what Naftali said. The essay, mitzvahs assay, that came before the dibur, meaning before aseret adiburs, is not doicha a loises that came afterwards. That's one teretz. And the other teretz is, and this one I can mamish understand, you can allow him to eat one kizayis matzah, but you might end up having two kizaysim, right? So therefore, that second kizayis is not doicha the issa. So they were afraid, if we're going to allow you to eat one kizayis matzah, then you're going to end up eating
Not
two
like the gra.
But your sheet says you have to have 2 or 3 kazayis.
Not like the gra. Not like the gra. Correct.
Yeah, this size is
correct. But obviously, Taisus didn't go with that chumrah.
Is the gra doesn't hold the chumrah? The gra holds midaraisa.
Which gra?
He's talking about the gra
that all the kazayis are considered midaraisa.
That what?
Yeah, mitzvah kiyumis, not a mitzvah kiyuvis. No mitzvah kiyumis is doicha
Right.
Taisus is chaylik on the Rambam. The Rambam holds that even the diburim that were before Matan Torah were renewed at Matan Torah. There's no such thing as a dibur koydem Matan Torah, according to the Rambam.
If Yaakov wasn't Mila koydem Matan Torah?
Mila?
Yeah.
So
would that,
would
that run into the same problem I say
with Tzaras?
With Shabbos.
Or Shabbos.
It's a drasha, Yom Hashmini.
Right, you have a special drasha for that.
But it's not al tasei derech leisasei?
No. It is. That's the whole sugya.
I thought that's where we learned to sugya. I would say that. So how can you say it's tasei derech leisasei?
Right.
That's why we don't learn from Mila. Because there's a drasha.
Yeah.
It's not stam that I say derech leisasei. It's a drasha.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's see weiter. Okay. So that's a whole sugya. Now again, getting back to well, let's wait for the Chodesh sugya. We discussed a little bit last night. Well, let's wait. Tanya idach. Yeah, we're about 12 lines down from the top. Tanya idach. We have another brayso. So Bnei Yisrael achlu asamon arbaim shana. The Bnei Yisrael ate the man for 40 years. V'chi arbaim shana achlu. They ate it for 40 years. They ate it 40 years minus 30 days.
Okay, so right? Big deal. So
right, so that's a kasha. Why do we always say?
Right,
it
says 40 malchus, 40 malchus. So it's not 40 malchus. It's 39 malchus. It's not. It's 39. I don't understand what the Gemara says. Right.
Yeah, so that is a kasha. Why didn't Gemara just say we round it off? Right. Yeah. So the bottom line was 30 days less.
And according to what you and Dave said a few minutes ago, they ate it for the 40 years. It just didn't fall the last 30 days. But they did eat it for the 40 years.
Exactly.
Oh, because they started eating in ER. So even with the eating for those extra 39 days, they ate on the 6th. Rashi says they started eating on the 16th day of ER. So even if they ate till Yud Zayin or Tes Zayin or whatever it is, Nisan, that's still missing a month.
Well, that's okay. So let's see how the Gemara says it. So again, they ate it for 40 years minus 30 days. The ugos that they took out of Mitzrayim tasted like mun. Right? It's yes. I don't understand. Now they're taking, first of all, stamakasha, which maybe I just Reb Dov, I don't know if you have an answer to this. If they took out ugos from Mitzrayim, why were you eating matzah on Pesach?
They stopped at a gas station and they bought all the ring things.
I think the ugos refer to the matzahs.
Who?
The ugos refer to the matzahs.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's the pasuk. Ugos matzahs.
The only thing we know.
Yeah, but they tasted like mun.
That's the Gemara says, it's a chazal, but the only thing we know they took out food-wise was matzahs.
Why didn't it say ugos matzahs here in the Gemara?
Oh, we didn't take out goats. Didn't take up.
One second. It's a different kasha. It says that the dough didn't have time to rise.
Right.
Right. So is that going to be defined? I mean, when does it get the definition of ugos? Neither.
You still call them
Any
ugas.
baked dough is an uga.
Right.
Okay, I don't know,
Because
but it
we
tasted
touch
like
it
mud.
as cake. That's a vrit. We touch it as cake. It's not cake. Uga is baked
No, I
dough.
understand.
Right.
Of course, I understand. But it's not. It's not. The
I
question
don't
is.
understand. What do you mean it tasted like the mun? Didn't the mun taste like anything you wanted? I'm going around in a
That's
circle.
another kasha. That's another
Well,
kasha.
mun had its
Coriander.
right.
Huh?
Mun had its taste. I guess
Coriander.
you davened. You earned the right to make it taste whatever you wanted, but it had its own flavor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Clearly, from this,
what was the flavor? What was the flavor?
Coriander and honey.
What is coriander? Great. You both said coriander.
Cilantro.
Cilantro.
What is
Cilantro.
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 okay, that don't help me either.
Right.
The thing that looks like parsley.
Parsley's first cousin.
Checked or unchecked cilantro?
You know, I think I'm listening to a Simon and Garfunkel song over here. Anyway, at least some people got it. Anyway, okay. The bottom line is this Gemara's mashal that mun had a default taste, right? And then this, okay, that's fine. And the matzah tasted like mun. Fine. Okay, Tanya Idach, another brayse. B'shiva ba'adar meis Moshe. Moshe Rabbeinu died in the 7th of Adar. Now you really got to hold cup to figure out how we know. It's an interesting riddle. How do we know Moshe? Right, it's a pashat dezach. You have the what's it called, making siyum and mishnayos. Moshe Rabbeinu. How do we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was nifter on Zion Adar? Right. So, but okay, let's see. He died on the Zion Adar. B'shiva ba'adar noilin. He was born. Minayim b'shiva ba'adar meis. How do we know that he died on the 7th? Shenemer yom Hashem Moshe eved Hashem. Moshe died in Arvas Moav, right? So when Moshe died, they had mourning for 30 days. And then it says after Moshe died, Eved Hashem, right? And then it says Moshe Avdi Meis Va'ata Kumavor. This is now talking to Yeshua. Right? Hashem talking to Yeshua. Moshe died. And now come past, now that Moshe died, he can't go into Eretz Yisrael. Now that he died, now we go into Eretz Yisrael. Uksiv, Ivru Bekerem HaMachane. Go through the whole Machane. Prepare for yourselves food, because we're traveling. In 3 days, we're going to pass over the Yarden into Eretz Yisrael. Uksiv Yarden Be'asel Chodesh Harishon. And it says that Klal Yisrael went over the Yarden on the 10th day of Nisan. Right? So again, if they went into Eretz Yisrael on the 10th of Nisan, and it was 3 days of preparation from when Yeshua was told that from Hashem that they're traveling, so that's 30, and then that 3 days was after the 30 days of mourning. And you count back from the 10th day of Nisan, 33 days. That gets you to Zion. So Moshe died on the 7th of Adar. So basically, you need to learn a little Yeshua to figure out when that Moshe Rabbeinu died on Zion Adar. All right. So, but how do you know? So Tosfos says, how do we know what day he spoke to him? It's a long Tosfos, but how do we know? How do you know what day Hashem spoke to Yeshua? Maybe he spoke to him after day 27 of the Avelos. Who says he spoke to him on day 30? Right? So Tosfos says, and one of the things that Tosfos says is you can't have nevuah when you're sad. So it can't be that Yeshua got the nevuah to travel into Eretz Yisrael from during the 30 days. So it must have been after the 30 days. Right? Fine. Okay. I don't know he was born on the 7th day. Shenemar, I don't know why. Why is it doing death before birth? Shouldn't birth come before death?
Because we can't prove
we only know the birth
birth
from the death.
death.
Right. So the l'chayra, you have to prove the death first, and then we're going to know the birth. Right. That's l'chayra why. There you go, parents. The song of the daf. There you go. Right? I was 120 years old. I'm not able to go. Right? Doesn't have to say the word hayoim. Hashem fills up the years of a tzaddik from day to day and month to month. Shenemar es misbar yamecha hamali, the days, the count of your days, I'm going to fill up. Fine. Okay, end of Agadata. So that's how we know Moshe Rabbeinu was niftar on Zayin Adar, and then we don't really know that he was born on Zayin Adar. It's just an assumption that he was a tzaddik, so he must have been born on Zayin Adar. We don't have any specific proof to that.
Other people have been tzaddikim and they weren't born, died on their birthday.
It's true. It's true.
So why would we?
I don't know. I don't know how you judge who's a tzaddik based on that.
Aaron didn't die on his birthday.
How do you know?
Oh, so
I'm saying, what
he was a big tzaddik.
We don't know Aaron's birthday.
Yeah.
David HaMelech did.
Because that's the only one we know.
There are different meanings to Mitzvah Yemecha Amalek. There's a Maisa with, I'm not sure if it's Rosh Hashanah Hirsch, but I think so. He was paid as a Rav, and they paid him quarterly for the following 3 months. Towards the end of his Rabbanus, he was very worried about how he may die before it's over, and his family.
Right, he was learning Archas Hadikim, so yeah, he got very worried.
Yeah.
and as Mitzvah Yemecha Amali with him, he was nifter on December 31st, which was the exact end of the quarter. He didn't miss a day as Rav.
I hear.
There was a Mrs. Roth in East New York, was famous. Mrs. Roth was born and died on Yom Kippur. It was very famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that's I don't know. Listen, it doesn't mean that you're not a tzaddik. It doesn't mean you're not a tzaddik, Naftali. And I'm saying, you're gonna not be master the guy. You get up by a husband say, I would think he was a tzaddik, but he wasn't nifter on the day.
No, I'm just saying, where do we get this?
Not a tzaddik.
Where do we get this thing that if you're dying your birthday, then you're a tzaddik? And
right here from
that. Well, okay, fine. That's one thing. Okay. But that was it's a two-pronged problem. Second thing is, because he was a tzaddik, we say that he must have been born on that day. Doesn't it seem a little fair?
You're saying you want to say like Meichatesi, because you see many tzaddikim are not.
Right. So why do we know? Why do we say he died on his birthday?
That kasha I like. That kasha I'm asking.
Okay,
because you're a kohen. Because you're a kohen. But
it's only because of the word hayoim. As Mitzvah Yemecha Amali does not mean that a tzaddik dies on his birthday. As Mitzvah Yemecha Amali means the Eibishter measures the exact time that a tzaddik will die, whatever that means. Because the word, the pasuk says hayoim, that's the measurement of Moshe Rabbeinu as a tzaddik. He died on his birthday.
Yeah, but then why do you need the second pasuk?
It doesn't mean that a tzaddik will die on his birthday.
But then what do you need the second pasuk for? Why do you need
hayoim without it touches hayoim.
Okay. I hear. Maybe. Okay, weiter. Tanya, now we're back to the Gemara of which mitzvahs are in Chutz La'aretz, which mitzvahs are not. So Tanya Rishon ben Yochai Omer, we're 8 lines up from the bottom. So Rishon ben Yochai said, Shalosh mitzvahs netzava Yisrael b'knisas La'aretz. There were 3 mitzvahs Klal Yisrael was commanded to do when they went into Eretz Yisrael. B'noigas, bein ba'aretz, bein b'chutz la'aretz, and those mitzvahs we have to keep whether we're in Eretz Yisrael, whether we're in Chutz La'aretz. Hu adin sheyinagu, and that should be it. This is an interesting lashon. I can't say I understand it exactly. And that taka should be noig that way, right? Why? Because umach chadash she'eni suri isur olam chadash. That's not usur forever, right? Because we know chadash is the new grains that were grown after Pesach, right? So they become mutter after the 16th day of Nisan. So they're not usur forever, right? Ve'eni surei isur hana, and it's not isur hana. You could take chadash and use it for firewood, or you just can't eat it. and there's a heta for its isser, meaning if they bring the carbon omer before the 16th, whatever, earlier on the 16th, then everything becomes mutter right then and there. So it has three leniencies. Noyig bein baras bein chutz la'aretz, and chadash is noyig in Eretz Yisrael and in chutz la'aretz. Which again, we said that's what we were saying yesterday, how it is that we don't keep chadash, right? And we're not makbid on yashon, when it seems pretty clear that we have to, right? Klayim, she suran isur oilam. Klayim, meaning crossbreeding, yeah, that its isur is forever, meaning it's never becoming mutter. You're never allowed to plant klayim. V'isuran isur hana, and it's isur hana, that's only klaya kerem. Regular klayim, meaning just taking two different types of vegetables or two different types of fruits, is mutter. Grapes together with grain, that's much more chomer, which we'll see in tomorrow's daf, right? But anyway, so that's asur b'hana, vein heter l'isuran, and the isur will never become mutter, right? So again, it's klayim is chomer in three different areas there where chadash is mekel. So and chadash you have to keep outside of Eretz Yisrael. So kol shekain klayim should have ein adin sheyinik bein baretz bein b'chutz la'aretz. So for sure you have to keep klayim outside of Eretz Yisrael, and then huadin la'arla b'shtayim, and you can make the same kal v'chamer with arla in two of the three. Right, there were three examples, right? But arla is not forever. At least according to Rashi, arla is not forever, is because the tree becomes mutter after 4 years. To which Taisa says it's the arla itself is asur forever. It's the tree that becomes mutter. Okay. But whatever it is, the Gemara is saying from a kal v'chaimer, it should be that you have to keep arla and klayim in chutz la'aretz. And Rebbe Eliezer ben Rishimon Omer on Tamid Beis, he disagrees. He says, "Kol mitzvah shenitzdav Yisrael koydem knisas la'aretz." Any mitzvah that Klal Yisrael was given before they came into Eretz Yisrael, noyeg bein ba'aretz bein b'chutz la'aretz. Then that's noyeg in Eretz Yisrael and chutz la'aretz. La'achar knisas la'aretz. But if they were given a mitzvah after they came to Eretz Yisrael, which is basically a code word for anything that's land related, ein in eges ela ba'aretz. It's only noyeg in Eretz Yisrael. Chutz min hashmatas ksafim v'shiluach havadim, except for shmitas ksafim. Right, that's at the end of Shemitah, all loans go back. That's what we need the prusbul, and sending out avodim by yovel. Right, that there, both of those apply in chutz la'aretz too. Even though those were given, commanded after they went into Eretz Yisrael. Nohegas bein ba'aretz bein b'chutz la'aretz. It's noheg, whether it's Eretz Yisrael, whether it's chutz la'aretz. So basically, he holds. Who was the shita here again? Rabbi Elazar ben Shimon disagrees and says anything that was given, any mitzvah that was given to Klal Yisrael after they already went into Eretz Yisrael, means that they're just for Eretz Yisrael.
Is this Rav Shimon bar Yochai's son?
Yeah.
I think so, no? Yeah.
He's been chaylik in his father.
Yeah.
That's the riots of
very
Gemara
good.
Kibbutz Av.
Yeah.
What do you say? What did you say, Gershon?
I'm saying it is mamish like Gershon saying exactly.
Look at the Rabbi Kiva Eger. He says it right here. Look at the Gilyon Shas. On the bottom of the Amud, on bottom of Amud Aleph, he says, "Cholik alavoy v'chein Shabbos mem daler Amud Aleph." Right, where he argues with his father again. It's interesting that
The riot to 6 blot ago. The Gemara of Kibbutz Av is only when talking to one's father. Doesn't mean one can't argue with one's father.
Oh, right, exactly. You don't have to. First, it could have been after his death. Maybe.
Oh, that was with the Rebbe. That was a different Gemara.
Right. Yeah. Anyways, okay. So basically, we have a machlokes between Shimon bar Yochai and Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, his son, over whether you have any mitzvahs that was given to Klal Yisrael after they already entered Eretz Yisrael, whether that applies in chutz la'aretz or not. So Gemara asks, Hashmatas ksafim chayvus hagufi. How are you saying that shmitas ksafim, you have a havamina that it doesn't apply in chutz la'aretz? Right? What do you mean? It's not that has nothing to do with land. Why shouldn't it apply everywhere? Right? So when answers like nitzurcha ela, look at the Tanya. We need it for this price. The Tanya Rebbe Omer of Zed Dvar Hashmita Shoma. It says this is the Dvara Shemitah. This is what Shemitah should be. Shamut, Shamut means it wipes it clean. The shtei Shemitahs are called Medar. The pasuk talking about two Shemitahs. Acha Shemitahs Karka, Acha Shemitahs Ksafim. One is talking about that the Karka, and one is talking about Kesef. Bisman Shat the Meshamed Karka, at the Meshamed Ksafim. When there's Shemitah of Karka, so then the Kesef is also gone, meaning all loans get wiped out. Bisman Shiyat the Meshamed Karka, Iyat the Meshamed Ksafim. But when there's no Shemitah, meaning when Klal Yisrael is not based in Eretz Yisrael, then there is no Shemitahs Ksafim. That's why nowadays we do keep Shemitahs Ksafim, right, in Chutz La'aretz. That's why last year we need to all write fruzbos. Okay, so the Gemara says, "Ve'ema b'makom shatem."
But Yaakov, isn't it only midrabanan though?
Yeah,
because once we went into Golus, there's no Indian Shemitah.
Correct. We have to tell the whole thing. Even Shemitah in Eretz Yisrael nowadays, the Rabbanan.
Right, I'm saying it's not.
Yeah,
it's not
100%. Right, but the Shemitah's Ksafim goes hand in hand.
Right, I'm saying it's only.
Yeah.
I think it's the bottom Rashi on Amud Aleph.
Well, that's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be on the bottom of the Amud. Well, we'll get to that. Yeah. So anyway, it says the Gemara says, why don't we say that in the place that you Meshamed Karka, that's where the Shemitah's Ksafim, meaning in Eretz Yisrael, Karka, which is Chutz La'aretz, right? Karka, there's no Shemitah on Karka in Chutz La'aretz, Einat the Meshamed Ksafim. Then you don't have to Shemitah's Ksafim. So the Gemara answers, Tama Loimar, Ki Kora Shemitah Lashem, because you have to call it Shemitah Lashem, Mikol Makom, means anywhere. Anywhere in the world, you keep Shemitah Lashem. Even though, meaning we don't compare Karka to Karka, we compare it as when there's Shemitah being kept in Eretz Yisrael, you got to keep it Shemitah's Ksafim anywhere also. Okay, fine. Then the Gemara asks, Shiluach Havadim Chayvas Agufi, sending out. So you said another one that you have to keep in Chutz La'aretz is sending out the Avadim. That's also Chayvas Aguf. Right? So when I answer and it says that you should call out freedom in the land. So you think maybe only in Eretz, Ba'aretz, right? Only in the land is there freedom for the slaves. But b'chutz la'aretz loy, tamid loymer yovel hi mikol makom. So we said yovel hi, it's anywhere. Okay, imkei ma tamid loymer ba'aretz. If that's the case, then what are you doing with the word aretz? Right? If we're saying that aretz doesn't mean dafka in Eretz Yisrael, so what are we doing with it? When there's freedom in Eretz Yisrael to free all the slaves, and then it's noig in chutz la'aretz. Ain't draw noig ba'aretz, ain't noig b'chutz la'aretz. But if there's no freedom of slaves, meaning during Golus, so then it's not noig in chutz la'aretz either. Right? Fine. Knan hasam. So now we get into the. Should we stop here? No, let's go back to a little bit. It's only 9:20. Okay, let's go back to it. So okay, Tanan Asim. So we learned in a Mishnah in Arla. Hachadash Asim in HaTorah b'chol makom. Chadash is Asim in HaTorah everywhere. Right? This is the way we paskin. Right? We discussed that yesterday. What was your kasha yesterday, Akiva? That if it's Asim in HaTorah, how are we being matter? I don't know. Akiva asked the kasha about it yesterday. But anyways, this is the way we pass. The Chodesh is also min HaTorah in b'chol makom.
No, I was asking. It's a das yachid. I mean, Rishon B'chai also, but it's still das yachid. Belazar is the das yachid. We never passed it. He was put in the cherem.
Right, but
the Rabbanan are the one who
are Mishnah.
What?
So it must be out. We must be out the Stam Mishnah here.
But our Stam Mishnah, the Rabbanan are chaylik on him. You're saying Stam Mishnah that's his shita. Interesting. So the Stam Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Lazar. I thought the Gemara always tried to stay away from that.
Correct. So I don't know how it works exactly, but clearly it has to be that the Stam Mishnah. Right? So anyways, so Chodesh is Asim in HaTorah b'chol makom. Now that's why Taka, that's what the Bach, I looked it up today. I looked up the Mishnah Berurah. The reason the Bach's heter is that he goes with the Shitas that hold that it's not min HaTorah, and it's the Rabbanon. So once it's the Rabbanon, then far away from Eretz Yisrael, there's no mixing anything up. then you don't have to keep it. That was the Bach's heter. Bach was saying that we're going to go with the shittas that hold not like this Mishnah, not like this Gemara, and that Chodesh is a Durabanan, and the only reason you have to keep it is so that people don't get confused with Eretz Yisrael, and therefore Europe, which was nowhere near Eretz Yisrael, there's no confusion, and therefore you could be Mekel. That was the Bach's heter. Anyways, so again, Chodesh also minatar b'chol makom. Arla, halacha. Arla, having to keep Arla in the whole world is halacha. V'aklayim, which we're going to see exactly machlok is what halacha means. V'aklayim b'divrei soifrim. Klayim is midrabanan. Yeah, and tomorrow's Daf Bez Hashem we'll see exactly what that means. Klayim is derabanan because a big nafkamina. People want to plant. I think Peretz once asked me about planting in his yard. If it's a derabanan and it's chutz la'aretz, then you might not have. You are able to plant, even though we're saying right now that klayim and chutz la'aretz is aser, but it's a derabanan. So that will have a lot of halachic ramifications. Anyways, my halacha. What does it mean that arla is halacha? Amar Rav Yehuda Shmuel hilchasam medina. It means that it was a halacha medina, meaning based on the Medina. Whichever your town decided to do, then it was like a minig, meaning it's a derabanan. And Ulam Rabbi Yochanan halacha l'moishim mesina. No, the exact opposite. It's not a derabanan. It's mamish halacha l'moishim mesina. Yeah, fine. So Amrli Ulu Rabbi Yehuda. So now again we have machlokes Rabbi Yehuda and Ula, right? Ula says, it's Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel who says that it's a minig, it's a derabanan. And Ula says it's halacha l'moishim mesina. So Amrli Ula Rabbi Yehuda bishlam elididi damina halacha l'moishim mesina. So according to me, that says that Arla is also close to Minat Torah because there's halacha l'moishim mesina. Hainu deshani lei ben safek Arla and safek klayim. That's why there's a difference between a safek of Arla and a safek of klayim. What does this mean? The Tanan safek Arla be'eretz also. Meaning again, if you hold it's a deraisa or halacha l'moishim mesina, then a safek is going to be also. If it's the Rabbanon, then a safek is going to be mutter, right? So what does the Mishnah say? Safek arla be'eretz asur. If you have a safek whether a tree is from Arla, so in Eretz Yisrael it's going to be asur. That's a safek deraisa. It's Syria. Now Syria, like Syria now, is on the border, so that can get much more confusing with Eretz Yisrael. So Syria, it's mutter, right? Why? Because Syria is outside of Eretz Yisrael. And it's a suffix, so it should be mutter. But chutz la'aretz, and chutz la'aretz, meaning past Surya, it's even more mekel. Yored, you can go down to the guy's field, v'lekeach, and you could buy. Ubavad yirenu like it. You can't see the guy actually picking the fruit from the trees. Right? So, again, because then that takes some of the suffix.
If it's deraisa, what's the difference?
What?
If it's deraisa everywhere, why not nafkamina? If it's deraisa and chutz la'aretz, why would there be an nafkamina between safek Eretz Yisrael and safek chutz la'aretz?
Okay, good. So let's see what the kasha is going to be. But that's what the Mishnah is saying to do. Bilugabi klayim. Now, what about a suffix of klayim? Kerem and a tua yerek v'yerek nimker chutzloi. If you have a vineyard that there's vegetables growing in the vineyard, and then the guy has a stand selling vegetables outside. Now, if that vegetable comes from the vineyard right behind the guy, so then that's also the eretz. So then it's also because for sure climate eretz is also deraisa. The Surya mutter, it's mutter. The chutz la'aretz yared v'loik it v'vachla yilkut biyad. Right, you have to make sure that he doesn't take it with his hands. Right, so Mamela. So according to Ula, this all works out. Yeah, because in Eretz Yisrael, it's with machmer. And you see throughout this whole thing that Klayim is more makel than Arla. Right? So fine. But according to you, Rabbi Yehuda, in the name of Shmuel, right, that Arla is only also midrabanan. Again, Ula held that Arla is also malach l'moishim mesina. Right? But according to Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel, who says that it's just minig, Elli dach an tamid aleph now, nisni oizeh v'zeh yar v'leikech. Why are there different halachas between Arla and Klayim? They should say, you can go down and get from the guy, right? But just make sure that you don't see him doing it. Like it. Or say go this one and this one can go actually pick it, right? Meaning what I didn't explain this well before. When it says Zev Lekeach means go down and buy it from the guy, as long as you don't see the guy picking it. Zev like it means you can even go down and have the guy pick the for whatever, gather it, just don't see him. Right, so that's the kasha. So clearly, you see that Orla and Klayim, according to this Mishnah, have different levels. So it must be that Orla is a deraisa and Klayim is a derabana, because Klayim is more mekel. So the Gemara says, "Amar leishmul Ravana Tani oizev ezeh yorev like Peretz's favorite teretz." That say that. Say exactly what you wanted it to say. That's what it says. Oizev ezeh yorev like. I mean, they both have the same din. And Ma'abrei the Ravana Masni Lilakula Zev ezeh yorev like it uvavachla yilkut biyad. Hitaka learns his version of this Mishnah was you can let the guy, you can go down and you can pick, you actually have the guy pick the fruits from you as long as you don't see him picking it with his hand. All right. Fine. Okay, we could stop over here. I hope it was a little understandable. It's a little bit confusing, but yeah. Anyways, everybody should have themselves a fine night. Yeah. And tomorrow we continue this, and then we get into tshuva gemaras. All right, for the next 2 days. Can't make it up. How much? Yeah, tshuva gemaras.
Shkaya.
Yeah, all right, fine. Shall I run to get mine? Think I can get it? Maybe.